Okay.
So we had some technical difficulties here trying to get this to live stream to Zoom, but you know what? Tech difficulties. I'm not sure what's going on here, but we're going to record it anyway. And so before I introduce my very special guest, Denise, who we've been through programming the past year that we can talk about more about mindset and communication. What I want to do first is give you guys a little digital marketing tip. In a few weeks, I think it'll either be April 4th or April 11th, I'm going to offer a live webinar on how to use Canva or other image editing programs to quickly brand images with your own branding so that when you share a quote or you share something inspirational, you've taken a few seconds to make it your own. And also the idea is to batch this kind of work so that you can create months worth of content at one time. So I'm going to just go ahead and share my screen. There you go. You guys see, like, manage your time, stay organized. You see that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So this is on Canva, and what I've done is I have my colors are in here, and you can see that I've got all my colors in there, and I don't have to worry about that. And then if I've created this particular image, these I use for my blogs to kind of give you an idea of what the topic is going to be about. I can just, once I know what my font is, I have my colors, I have shapes, I can copy that. And so that's a copy. And then I can just change out my text. That was in front of that. So I've collected a bunch of, let me see if there's what I have open for you guys here. So what you guys, a lot of people do this. They share other people's quotes, right? And you see that. And what I would suggest, and this is what I'll go through in the webinar is more of the how-to, is when you see those inspirational quotes, copy them down, copy the words down, and create a spreadsheet for yourself. Following a system is hard. Being overwhelmed is harder. This I haven't put an image yet too. So these are quotes that I'm starting to collect that I like. And I could easily share off of the different places, and you've all seen them, and I'm blanking on the different ones that people share a lot. But if you're going to share it, and quotes like this get a lot of likes and they get a lot of shares, it might as well be your branding with your website on the bottom. These particular ones, I'll drag it up so you can see it, have just my branding on it. It doesn't have my website, but my website happens to be the same. Yeah, so then if it gets shared, it has my colors. It looks like me. Let me see what else I brought up to share. So this is one of my clients, and she is such an amazing writer. And so for her, what we do is every time she writes, I take out some of her like most delicious nuggets and I put them in her branding, her colors, her font, and we make a bunch of those. And then she's able to share those on Twitter and LinkedIn. So that is still can't go live. That is my quick digital marketing tip for this week, which is if you're going to share a quote, it might as well be on your branding. And when I put the recording of this up and when I share it, I will put information for people to be able to sign up to take the webinar, which will go into more detail and give you time to practice. So now, Denise, I want to introduce you. Thank you so much again for coming. So quickly, you guys, Denise Fitzpatrick you have to tell me what the letters after your name mean.
The LMHC?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so licensed mental health counselor.
Awesome. So licensed, and she owns Relationship Counseling of Walpole, which is relationshipcounselingofwalpole.com. And today, I asked Denise to talk with us today because her superpower And I've noticed this because we've spent a lot of time together going through coaching programs and mindset programs. And I just love the way she's always so clear and insightful about how to communicate. And so that is actually the topic today is common communication mistakes that keep couples stuck. But also I asked Denise, and maybe this is where we start, Denise, is I guess there was two ways we're going to go. Let's start with that. Let's start with when most of the people that are in the Rise Above Noise group or that I work with are indeed women entrepreneurs. And many of us are balancing so many things. We have our home, we have our kids, we have our business, we have a million different things. So as business owners who sometimes have to field questions from others in our life about what are you doing anyway? Or why don't you do it this way? Or why don't you do it that? What kind of advice can you give us, let's say give me, for helping others in our life understand what's going on? Or if they're giving us a little bit of a rub,
Right.
how can we communicate through those things?
Yeah, so that's a really good question. And I think we all kind of in our business feel a little nervous about bringing our spouses in and letting them know about what's going on, or sometimes even feeling like we need their permission to make certain decisions. And so one of the things that I learned through our coaching program, which I think is important for us to remember, is we don't need anyone's permission because it is our business. So we need to make those decisions for ourselves and our business. But at the same time, that doesn't mean we're going to exclude the people in our life, our partners in particular, and let them know what's going on, right? So we might not be asking permission, but we're certainly informing. And we want to give as much information as possible so they know what we're doing in our business. So they feel included. And so they also know, like when we're making a big decision about something or a financial investment, that they know exactly what it is we're doing, right? So it's not like you're just going to invest a whole bunch of money and then they say, whoa, what's that all about? Right. So as much as you can have those open lines of communication, those kinds of things will go a lot smoother.
So do you have any recommendations then for, and I know a lot of people who are, they're transitioning or they're ready to take the next step in their business, but they're getting a little bit of pushback.
Mm-hmm.
What would be, instead of jumping into but it's my business and I want to do it this way, like what are some strategies we can use?
Right. So that's also a good question. And I think what was coming to mind as you were saying it is it's natural to want to jump to being defensive, right? So it's reminding yourself you don't have to defend yourself or justify, but why not just explain and try and understand your partner's perspective? So maybe they're feeling a little worried, feeling a little anxious, concerned that this investment is not going to work out. They're skeptical because they're not the ones going through the program. So they don't know all the intricacies like you do. So if you're coming at it from a place of, let me help you feel more at ease about this, let me calm your anxiety around this, I can understand why you might be feeling a bit anxious. If I was in your shoes, I might actually be feeling that way as well. And so validating those feelings and then helping the person understand would go a long way to making that go a lot smoother. Does that make sense?
That's so good. Validating and let me help you understand that.
Yeah.
And
right.
so
Not feeling like you have to come at it defensively, right? Because maybe your partner just wants to understand. Now, they might not be coming to you in a way that leaves you open to discussing, but you can only manage what goes on for you and how you decide to respond and react. So if your partner's struggling, then how can you help them be struggling less and know more about what it is you're doing in your business?
So let's talk about that a little bit more. What would be, and I, I'm so fortunate because that is not my experience. But I talk with a lot of people who it is their experience, where somebody doesn't understand, and right away, as you talked about, they are put on the defensive. And I love what you say, that you can't necessarily control what the other person's reaction is. You can only control your own. I love what you say about validating. Are there any other ways that we can, I mean, because you're usually working with both, right? And in this case, we're kind of talking on one side. What other things can we do?
Yeah, a big one is really trying to understand each other's perspective, right? So often when things get heated or we're in a tough conversation, we're generally pushing for our own agenda, or pushing to be heard, pushing to have our partner see things the way we do, whether that's around business or something else. Maybe it's around parenting, maybe it's around, where we're going to go to dinner or something like that. And instead, why not take a moment? And this is a phrase that I'll use with couples, is be curious instead of furious. Oh. So, bringing a curiosity to the conversation and a true, genuine desire to understand. And yes, that sounds so simple. And yes, it sounds simple. It's not easy to do, especially when you have patterns of reacting with each other and habitual ways that you do things. You end up getting caught up in these moments, and you wonder, how did we even get here, right? So there's not a lot of awareness, not a lot of conscious thought. So I understand that it's not easy to do that, but it's something to just keep in mind, curious instead of furious.
I love that.
Yeah.
That would make a beautiful quote. Branded by Denise Fitzpatrick.
I'll be on Canva right after our call.
I'll be looking for it.
In Canva, so I love it.
That is so good. So another place that I feel like people maybe are getting stuck. Well, maybe not. Let's not leave there. Did you have anything else to say on the whole personal couples relationship? I mean, sometimes it's not even your partner. It could be somebody in your family, your kids, your parents, siblings.
Right. Well, I think along those same lines as being curious instead of furious is listening, but listening to understand. So that all kind of ties in together. Listen to understand, rather than what generally happens is you're in a heated moment, your partner's responding or reacting to you, and what's going through your mind is what you're going to say next and how you're going to defend yourself, and what your next comeback will be, as opposed to, again, a genuine desire to understand what your partner's perspective is.
Fabulous.
Yeah.
Fabulous. What else? What other things? I mean, you're with couples all day long. What other issues come up in the area of communication and being curious instead of furious?
Yeah, I mean, that's a really hard one. I think it's all really hard because people are learning just a new way of being with each other, right? And often the couples that I see have been together for years, 10, 15, 20 years. So the patterns that they have are deeply ingrained. And so it takes time to undo those and to create new habits. And when you're creating new habits, it really takes a focused effort, right? So it doesn't come naturally. It's going to be a little awkward. It's going to be hard work. And so remembering, whenever you're learning anything new, right? What's it like to learn something new?
Yeah.
Right? It's awkward. It's hard work. It might even feel like, geez, I don't want to have to do this. So knowing that this is just like learning anything new. And when you have a goal, you have to work hard, and you might have to do the uncomfortable things, the things you don't really feel like doing, but you do it anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, that is so good. I really am thinking of people I know should listen to this, right? Because I see so many people working really, really hard at their business. And I see them as an outsider, like, oh my God, you're amazing. And often, like more often than I'd like, I hear, yeah, wait, why don't you tell my husband that? Like, isn't that so sad? It makes me sad.
But
So,
that I think brings up a good point, is working so hard at all, and this is often the case with couples that I see, is working so hard at all these areas in their life, but not working hard at their relationship. Because I don't know if there's this belief too that I shouldn't have to. I think that's something that gets in the way too, is this false belief that, well, it's my relationship, I shouldn't have to work hard at it like I would my business or this or that. But the truth is, yes, you do.
oh, yeah.
And if you don't, that's how things get bad.
Oh, interesting. Well, now maybe I can shift over to this other idea that I had when we were talking about having this interview together. And that's still on the topic of communication, but also what I would like is to learn more from you on how to clearly communicate my expectations or communicate. See, this is why I'm having a hard time communicating. So I work with, people in different areas. I work with website designers, graphic designers, work with copywriters. I work with people that are in all different areas. And then I also have a VA that I work with who is awesome. She'll do, she can do anything. And then sometimes I feel that maybe I haven't communicated properly across. So I think that, we have so many ways, different ways of communicating. We have communicating with our life people, our partners, our family, and then communicating professionally. Some people work in offices. What kind of communication tips could you give any of us on that area?
Yeah, so I think number one, we have to not assume anything, right? So often we kind of assume that people know, or they should just know, or assume that we're going to get a particular reaction if we bring something forward. So we might hold back from saying something. So getting away from assumptions.
Okay.
Right? Really. So, and if there's something that you have to communicate, being clear, being direct, being honest, and not leaving anything up to an assumption, right? And then the other piece of that is, like you're saying, if you're communicating with your VA, and I also do this with my couples, is to make sure there's no miscommunication or misunderstanding. After you've said something, or this is what I need from you, what I want from you, is checking in with that person and saying, so what is it you heard me say? Or are we clear on what I need you to do? Can you just repeat back to me so I know that you got it all?
Oh, that's so good. Yes. Yeah.
Or maybe even for you, like, to get clear in your own mind, you might even write down what it is you want to communicate. Because when you write something down, it's very different than just kind of holding that information in your head. Right. And so then you're more clear in what you're wanting, needing, what your expectations are. You can see them in writing. And then you can make sure too that you haven't missed anything.
That's really good advice. Thank you. That's good stuff.
Sure.
So tell me, what else should people know about you? And then who would be a person that could benefit from working with you?
So generally the couples that come to see me, and I wouldn't say they're all couples, I mean, some are individuals. So sometimes if a relationship is in trouble, but only one partner is willing to do the work, right? So I don't want to generalize, but men are a little bit more resistant to it. So sometimes I will see women who come without their partners, and I absolutely believe that one person can make a change in the relationship, right? Because when you start behaving differently, then your partner is going to respond differently. I mean, I do think that ideally it's great to have both people. But if you can't, having one person work on it instead of not is better than nothing. But ideally, like my ideal person is a couple that is really committed to staying together. They want to make it work. They find themselves really stuck in these repeating patterns of that same old fight, and that nothing they do seems to change it. And maybe they've gotten to a place they feel like, okay, this is it. Like I have to stay in this really unhappily married place, or I have to get a divorce. But there is another option. And that, that option is getting help. And I've helped a lot of couples get out of that stuck place, come back from the brink, turn their relationship around, and be better than they thought were possible. So yeah, and why wouldn't you give that a try, right? Because what's more important than your marriage? Right.
And especially if there are children involved, I would imagine too that if they can see their parents happy.
Right.
Yeah.
Going through a painful, messy divorce.
Yeah.
I mean, why wouldn't you give?
And to model a healthy relationship, even if, right, you don't, kids want to see their parents happy.
Yeah.
Awesome. So I'm going to repeat again that people can reach you at, I've lost it, so I'm going to let you say your website. There it is.
relationshipcounselingofwalpole.com.
And then if they go onto your website, they can either schedule a free 15-minute phone consultation with you, which is
correct.
Awesome, right? To like tell you what's going on, and you can be like, yeah, don't bother. No, you would never say that. I know you wouldn't say that, but you would give them honest feedback.
Yeah.
And
they'll
then
find out, they can tell me a little bit about their situation. I can tell them a little bit more about how I work. If it seems like a good fit, we can go ahead and schedule a time.
Awesome. And so you see clients in your office in Walpole?
I do.
And do you do any virtual?
I do some virtual.
Good.
I would always want to meet with a couple initially in person, but virtual is an option.
Yeah. Awesome. And then I see too that you're offering us a free guide, 5 tips for communication that connects.
Yes, that's an opt-in on my website. If you go in, you put in your name and email address, and it'll come directly to your email.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Is there anything else that you think that I missed or that we should cover before we finish?
I don't think so. Not that I can think of.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Oh, it's always good. And it's good to see you anyway. I miss seeing you now that I'm not in that program anymore, but I do see you at She Breathes, and I'm excited about that, to see you again there. I think that's it. I'm going to put the information in for my Canva/branding/quote workshop, and I'm looking forward to seeing you again soon.
All right. Thank you again, Susan.
All right. See you, hon.
Bye.